Good morning, this is Kendal Dean reporting from General Butler State Park. Yesterday, we arrived at school at 5:30 and said some goodbyes, some tearful, some not, and we had our wheels rolling at 6 a.m. We had an 8-hour bus ride, marked with Dutch Bliss, catchphrase, music, and many discussions. As we neared our destination, General Butler State Park, we were asked by our staff, or our leaders, to read a section from Wendell Berry's Sex, Freedom, Economy, and Community in preparation for a night of discussion with Mr. Berry. The excerpt from his book talked of diversity of places and how we shouldn't treat places like they are all sustainable. And we would later talk with him about that in the evening. When we arrived at General Butler State Park, we set up our camp and cooked a lovely meal that we shared with Mr. Berry. Later then, we spoke with Mr. Berry about his book and how to bring back the culture of a small town. And we also talked about how to cause change by being changed for ourselves first. In the discussion with Mr. Berry, we spoke on how to bring a metropolitan area back to a small town. And he replied that we should have people begin to attempt to account for their own economy, which would be personally how they live and keep house, sort of. And that just means being responsible for what we use, how we use it, how much we use, and is it renewable or not. So, for example, that would be, where does your food come from? Where does your electricity come from? And is that coming from a renewable source or not? And he also spoke of urban agrarianism, which is the recognition that metropolitan areas can still have a sort of local source of food, so they know where their food is coming from, which benefits the farmers and themselves. And that is seen in farmers market in cities, and Harrisonburg has one of these. Mr. Berry also asked that we recognize that we aren't where we need to be, and we need to accept responsibility for that. He focused on responsibility and sort of love your neighbor, but that has to be something that happens through yourself first. And you can't expect others to change without making a change within yourself first. So, after a lovely discussion time with Mr. Berry, we all were thoroughly exhausted and prepared for bed. And where are we going today? And prepared for a day in Cokie Mountains, which is in Missouri. So, we'd like to say thank you to the Sprint in Harrisonburg, Virginia, for providing our internet accessibility. And this is Kendal Dean, signing off for Discovery 2013.